Thought a lot of things surrounded tonight's game. One, we certainly in the first quarter didn't defend like we needed to. I think giving up 38 points. I think the other part was I thought our second unit did a really, really great job in both the first half and the second half. They were huge. I thought Russell, his leadership was phenomenal. Even when we got down, just encouraging those guys and lifting those guys up. And looking down at the stat sheet, I was surprised. He only got there to the free throw line twice. As much as he was playing downhill. And then, I thought Paul made some big shots and was really aggressive. So, I thought overall it was a really, really good team with a lot of contributions.
You mentioned the second unit a little bit. Ray Felton was obviously.
You mentioned second unit, yes, before the game, right?
No, I don't think that was me.
No, was it you?
I asked about Carmelo pregame.
Oh, okay.
Someone might have asked about
there. Okay, Brett was okay. All right, Brett asked about second. Someone was asking about second unit.
Brett's a good luck charm. Ray Felton specifically had a really nice game tonight. What was his role in just commanding that second unit?
He just did a really good job. I thought he really was well balanced between himself and the other guys. He really generated and created a lot of good offensive opportunities. Made some big shots. Got downhill in the lane. I thought made a couple plays to Jeremy that we just weren't able to finish, but they were the right plays. Again, I think with the way the game was going in the end of the third quarter, when that second unit came in there, I thought those guys really raised the level of play and gave us a good cushion. Going into the fourth, and start that fourth, we played well. So it was encouraging to see those guys to play so well.
Billy, you kind of had to make some decisions with Andre being out at the shooting guard position all year. I wanted to ask you about Alex in the second quarter. I believe he played the entire second quarter, if I'm not mistaken. What was the decision behind that? And then also going to Terrence in the third quarter as opposed to Alex, when Alex seemed like he was in a pretty good rhythm.
Well, the hard part is Paul has been playing really, really well. Closing out quarters in the first and the third, and it's hard in terms of rhythm and balance and flow for Carmelo, for Paul, for Russell. To constantly be staggering those guys throughout the course of the game. I think there's a give and take. It looks good in theory, it sounds good, but there's also a part too where their rhythm is a little bit broken, when that's happening, where they're being taken in and out of the game just to keep them on the floor. So, I thought with starting Josh from a defensive perspective, I wanted to get Terrence in there early just to, see what he could do. Alex played, to your point, really well. The only reason I kept Terrence in there is I thought Terrence's activity and the job that he did in that third quarter was really, really good. I knew I was going to come back to Alex, and probably when Terrence went through that period from the third to the fourth, that was probably going to be it for him for the night. So I knew that there was 10 minutes to play with Alex. Whether we played him the rest of the quarter or took him out, but. It was really more Terrence, I thought, played really, really well there in that third quarter. He had a good rhythm. He was playing well. Our team was playing well. I just, kind of just didn't want to break that rhythm going into the fourth.
You've mentioned before, wanting to keep rotation players involved. Terrence, statistically, he hasn't been good this season in terms of his plus-minus or his net rating. But you saying you want to get a look at what he can do, is that something that you might question yourself about, or you might wonder about, even though you're going into a race down the stretch where you're going to have to win games, you're going to have guys in critical situations? Do you still want to see what Terrence can do in those situations?
It's not really about seeing what Terrence can do. I feel like I got a really good pulse on what Terrence can do. The biggest part for Terrence is just the inexperience. Game 61 is a new experience. Game 62 on the road. This will be the first time that he'll go. Maybe the second time he'll go play at Dallas, but. Everything's new. He's a guy that's, I think, can help our team. I know what he can do, and I think giving him the opportunity, he's going to have some bad moments, he's going to have some really good moments. He's a rookie, but he really works hard. He's a smart, bright guy. He gives us another guy off the bench. I don't want to go into, to your point, coming down the stretch where our roster is shrinking. I think that would be a mistake. I think what we want to try to do is expand it. Not that we want to play 12 guys every night, but at least trying to keep those guys active, involved. Then maybe there's a night where there's not great matchups or for whatever reason it's not a great fit, but I was happy that he was able to get good quality minutes here today.
Billy, for a long stretch going into the All-Star break, Paul was shooting the ball so well from three. He's not shot it great coming out of the break. What did you think of the way he played tonight, some of the aggressiveness when the three-point shot wasn't falling?
Yeah, he was great. I'm not worried about Paul's shot. I do think there's like a catch-22, just this being the third time going through it with the All-Star break. There's like a catch-22. There's a part of them that gets refreshed, I think, but there's also a part of them that their rhythm and their flow and their routine through 55, 57 games is totally disrupted. And I think it takes a little bit of time to kind of get back into that flow again. I think Paul's getting great shots. He's taking great shots. It was encouraging to see him attack and play downhill like he did tonight. I thought he was really, really good in terms of getting to the basket, finding guys. And, we found him several times. But the threes, listen, he was on such a tear there for about a month and a half, especially in those first quarters where, he was getting off, 15, 16 points in the first quarter. 20 and halves. So he'll get that back. I think it's just about him getting his rhythm and his flow back, just being, a few games into this coming out of the break.
He got to the line some tonight, but he also seemed to feel like he was drawing a lot of contact and not getting calls. Do you see that with him? Do you see him not?
Yeah,
maybe
I do. I do. I do. It's the same thing with Russell too. Those guys are aggressive players, and listen, there's calls that are missed. There just are. He's gotten fouled and he's not getting to the line. I think the same thing can be said for Russell. And I'm not trying to get into every single play call. But as much as those two guys are in the lane, they need to be at the free throw line more than at the free throw line, in my opinion. Now I thought it was a physical game. Steven was very aggressive at the basket. There was some no fouls called for him, so I'm not saying that Orlando shouldn't have been there either. But I just know when I'm watching those guys on film, when I'm seeing those guys in games, game after game after game, and the amount of time they're in the lane and they're playing downhill, they should be at the free throw line more.
Billy, I think we've probably asked you this about 6,000 times about Alex's defense, but just him being able to help, whether it's Jeremy defending a guy one-on-one, coming over and help, being able to get a hand to Hazonia's drive. What have you seen from Alex that's put him in positions to do the things he did in tonight's game or in the past few games?
Alex is a really smart, cerebral player. I think the biggest thing I've seen from last year to this year is just a physical toughness from him. He's tried to get his body in more plays. He's been more physical. I think last year, there was a lot of fouls called on him when people would try to drive at him, and he was kind of retreating. Now, I think for him, there's a physicality to how he's trying to play. And he's trying to fight over screens. He's trying to body guys. He's trying to get into the ball a little bit more. He's trying to be a better help defender. He's doing more. I thought he really did a good job tonight defensively, for both rotations that he was in.
Is he a better defensive defender when he's making shots? Is he one of those guys?
I always feel like when guys are making shots, they always seem a little more enthused to play defense. But I'm not going to say that about Alex. Alex is a really, really conscientious, good team guy. He's smart, savvy. You can kind of talk to him about what you want from him, and he goes out there and tries to do it. He's older, he's more experienced, and I think he's physically stronger. And I think I'm seeing him do a lot more things physically that he's capable of now that maybe he wasn't capable of last year.
Yeah, Billy, your bench has sort of been hit and miss throughout the season. Wasn't very good the other night. Tonight, outstanding. Do you know what you're going to get, or do you just put them out there and sort of hope?
It's a great question. No, I've got confidence in those guys, and I need to tonight is a great opportunity to build some confidence for those guys. There's going to be moments where they're not going to shoot the ball well. We had Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Carmelo Anthony in Golden State not shoot the ball well. That's going to happen. What makes those guys those players is that they do that on most nights. They really perform offensively at a high level. I think for our bench unit, as long as they're being physical and they're defending and they're rebounding, you can, I think, get away with some struggles offensively. That you may have some moments where the ball's not going to the basket, you have a little bit of a drought. But if you're really defending at a high level, and that's what I've tried to encourage those guys with. And it was good to see them be productive on both ends of the floor. But in reality, those guys opened up the game and gave us a cushion, a double-digit lead before the starters came back in there. So maybe this is something hopefully they can build upon.
So it seemed like their defense tonight was really good. You got
Yeah.
the starters one.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's the message I've been trying to give those guys is like, listen, as long as you guys moving past the basketball, like I thought Alex got some really, really good looks in that second quarter with the second unit, and he just didn't make them. Then he kind of made a couple. Patrick, had some plays in some previous games that maybe he didn't make. But I just trying to get them to focus on their defense, and they've done a really good job of trying to do that. And we're going to have to live with maybe some results of, maybe some droughts or struggles offensively. I think every team goes through that. I don't think that we're different than anybody. I mean, look at our team last game against Golden State. I mean, our entire team really struggled to score. And Golden State's a terrific defensive team. But we've just got to make sure that they're playing with energy and a motor and a physicality and defending and rebounding. And then hopefully, we can generate really good looks, and then we're going to live with the result.